Today is the big release day of my new song AMNA, and I want to show you how I mixed vocals from my bedroom studio setup to make my song sound as professional as this. So I'm speaking to all the masses, please raise your glasses for memories past us, disregard the pastors. This video and the giveaway in it is sponsored by Embody's Immerse Virtual Studio, a plugin that helps you mix your songs to studio quality from the comfort of your own home. All the masses, please raise your glasses for memories past us, disregard the pastors. Cause tonight we raise it to the good life, the good nights, bad days in the hood life. Maybe you. So when it comes to a lot of these bedroom recordings, like I said, oftentimes there's no soundproofing or sound treatment done to the room, and so we want to tackle all of the ambient noise first, all of the things we may be hearing in the background, from people talking downstairs to the rumbling of a car or a computer fan. You'll be able to hear a lot of the background noise that we're gonna try to take out in today's recording. Testing 1, 2. So you hear that, there's a motorcycle outside actually, and then there's a random kid screaming. So basically what you do with something like NS1, you have that first. Okay, so it's gonna look like this. I'm gonna press play. Testing 1, 2. Tap suggest. Testing 1, 2. Huge difference already. Literally just one click. Now here's the before. Now you can also mess with the threshold here to take out even more of what is happening here. So basically the threshold is like the intensity of this plugin. How much is it applying to, you know, this subtraction of these frequencies. So we have that first, but of course we still hear some of those other sounds in our audio. So how do we get rid of that as well? Well, we have NS1 to work in conjunction with WNS. So we pull that up here right after WNS, play it, and then basically it's just one slider. All you do is drag this up to your desired amount of suppression. Go from there. You're gonna see the difference it makes. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. It's almost nothing now. Now with these plugins, you don't want to do too much because then you start to kind of distort the audio or make it sound more muted and warm and muffled than it's supposed to be. Like for instance, if I drag this all the way to 100. Testing 1, 2. You see how it's kind of like the audio is trying to take too much, and also it just sounds kind of muffled as well because it's taking out so much of that frequency that we want in there. Right around 15 I had it here. I took it a step further. I mean, already this sounds great, but you can take it a step further with a noise gate followed right after that. And set this, the threshold I have here at negative 30 dB. Now this is gonna be different settings depending on your surroundings, your scenarios, how much noise you have to take out. So these might not work for you. However, if you're in a similar environment where there's not too many people around, it's just basically noise bouncing and cars driving in the background, you might be able to utilize these settings as well. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. That sounds amazing, dude. If feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. You can hear that big gaping right when I'm about to, you know, jump back in. So I used RX Pro's breath control, and basically that takes out any kind of dramatic breathing that you have in your audio. So this is another way to clean your vocals if you're doing too, because like rapping in this case is like you're saying a lot, so you have to take a lot of breaths. Just those tight things when you want a more like, you know, people like to flow. So that's where something like this breath control comes into play. So essentially we have the target level, which is the decibels relative to full scale here, which is how loud the breathing is going to be. So I'm going to take the target level, the sound of the breaths basically, and drag it down to whatever level I feel is once I'm happy with, because I do sometimes want my breaths to be heard, just not like all in the microphone like that, because we're humans, we breathe, of course. Sometimes it contributes to the intensity of a song. And then we have the sensitivity, which is how sensitive this is going to be at scanning the breaths in our audio. If you have this too high, it's going to start catching on to the words or parts of the word that you still want audible. It's going to make it sound like you know, you don't want it to go too high or distort your audio. You want to have that also, I would say, on top of your noise suppressor plugins, because anything that's, you know, taking out breaths or stuff like that needs to be towards the top.
If feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. And
nothing. Yo, it's nothing. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my vocal writer and my CLA2A after all of my initial cleaning vocals. So the vocal writer, you guys know, it's just one knob again. I mean, it has a few different settings, but I have it set to fast so that it reacts fast, basically trying to compensate for when I'm lower in my volume, it's turning this slider or fader up within this range that I set. So this is the range that we set for the target decibel levels or volume level of our vocal. So if you wanted to have, you know, lower lows, basically it gets quieter, you drag it way down here. But if you wanted to stick between a certain range, I typically have it not too wide of a range. Set the reaction to fast. And then we have the CLA2A compressor, which is a plugin that squashes your vocal.
Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give.
That's actually a really great example. So even though our vocal writer is doing its job and keeping things kind of heard, you can still hear there's certain parts in this rap where my vocal is kind of, put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year. It's like those natural changes in my volume in the voice. So a compressor gives it, like, if I could explain it this way, it kind of squishes the dynamic range into this little box where it keeps you quiet enough to still be heard, but not loud enough to be overpowering. So the gain of the vocal itself, or the compressor, I have on 50, and then the peak reduction is, I'm, you know, reducing quite a bit, I would say. I love thick compression.
Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give.
One of my favorite plugins to add character to, especially rap vocals in this case, is Abbey Road Vinyl. This plugin kind of adds a little bit of texture, whether it's crackle or grime or grit, just that, you know, turntable feel. Two different kinds of generations. We have two different types of turntables and two different types of cartridges. Basically, you want to look at this as just different presets. You can choose to go with this print, AR. It's just different combinations of things that you can do that kind of create different sounds. I can't really describe what the sounds are. I'm more so somebody who just listens to what I hear. So here's one of the tricks that I came up with when using Abbey Road Vinyl. If you really want to see what it's adding to your vocal, find a blank space in your audio like here. You loop it. Now what I want you to do is turn the audio on this video all the way up as loud as you can and listen to the texture. I'll even turn this up here, that is adding to this vocal. Basically, this is the blank stuff, there's no vocal. This is the extra that this plugin is adding. It's very detailed, I know, but it makes a difference. So now when we actually apply this to our vocal, I actually want to go for a little bit of a buzz.
Maybe you just found love in a hopeless place. Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give.
I still feel like it doesn't have enough. And so I go to my trusty friend, CLA Vocals, and I just basically use this to add a little bit of bass to the voice here, because I kind of wanted to sound like it was recorded in like one of those garage cypher settings, like where they got the mic super close to their face, kind of homey, kind of more mixtapey, instead of super polished and professional, at least on the initial recording. So I bumped up the bass a little bit, added a little bit of compression here, and then a little bit of treble for more brightness as well. I switched the compressor type to spank because that has a little bit more punchiness, I find. Spreading the vocal just ever so slightly, and I love to add a slap to some of my raps. When I'm rapping, it just gives it like a little bit more presence without adding a reverb, because with raps, I think reverb is a little bit too distracting unless you're adding it on something that's like a singing background vocal or a vocal dub or something that you want to really like kind of emphasize a line that you're saying. In this case, I turned the reverb off, but I do have a slap delay on there, so it's a little bit like, you know, it just feels like there's more presence and energy to the song. So here is the before.
Let's place. Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year, something's gotta give. And I
want to tell a story with the way that you process your vocals, in conjunction with the way that you rap or sing your vocals. It's not just you sing it good and then you like clean it up and that's it, but you also process the vocals in a way that communicates your feeling as well. You know, just as much as the lyrics do, just as much as the notes do, or the flow does when you rap or you sing or whatever it may be. This is where I typically start going into adjusting the volumes on my track headers, these right here, because we've already did the gain staging, we've already recorded our levels and everything, but we don't want everything to be at the exact same volume here on the track header, because then stuff's going to be competing for the spotlight and we're not going to be able to tell our story effectively. We're going to be using a special tool, Immerse Virtual Studio, to help us mix as if we were in a professional studio. So this is Immerse Virtual Studio's plugin. Basically what you would do with this plugin is you would come onto your master channel, your stereo out channel, go to Embody, Immerse Virtual Studio, and you apply it there. Basically so that this scans everything, it hears everything that is on all these tracks going to the out. Essentially what it's doing is it's playing and mimicking the sound of how your song would sound if it came out of these studio monitors. These are not just any studio monitors. They're specific studios. Echo Bar Studio A in North Hollywood. That's a real studio. Diamond Control Room, Spitfire Studios. Maybe you've heard of some of these before, but if you haven't, let me put you up on game. Echo Bar mixed records for people like Michael Jackson, BTS, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. Do I need to say any more names? You're able to hear your stuff in that environment. So this is gonna kind of help us to make better mixed decisions, because we're gonna hear how our stuff sounds in this professional studio. First thing though that you wanna do when you're messing with Immerse Virtual Studio is set your headphones, because there are different headphone profiles. I have on the ATH R70X, so I'm gonna select those. I wanna go ahead and choose Echo Bar Studio A. You can change the ambience of the plugin. Basically, this is kind of how it sounds like in a room. So let me just play some of this right now. Wonderful God. It just kind of adds like a more natural feel to making you sound like you're actually in the room with the reverb and stuff that happens like that. We have different speaker selections, and this is basically so you can hear your song through different sets of speakers, because it's always good to make sure that your sound is transportable. That's why people do the speaker test. They play their songs on their phone, on their computer, in their headphones, in their speakers, in their cars. It has to sound good on everything first before you release it. I typically stick with the vocal ones here. Feels good on it, getting good on it, and I got all my niggas around. Okay, so in this case, I actually want to turn these vocals up, these main vocals. Everybody home, ain't nobody gone. Because even though I have two leads here, one is high, one is low, it's not loud enough for me on this mix. This stage in the mixing process, you want to balance whatever's in the forefront at whatever point in the song with the rest of the song, harmonies, beats, instruments, all that stuff. But I just want that lower vocal to be more prevalent. And I got all my niggas around. Feels good on it, getting good on it. And I got all my niggas around. I got a couple minutes in town. Nobody home, ain't nobody gone. And I got all my niggas around. Feels good on it, getting good on it. And I got all my niggas around. It's also important to listen to just your vocals by itself. And I got all my niggas around. Yeah. And I got all my niggas around. In town. Around. Woo! Around. Around.
And so I passed this Moscato.
That sounds really, 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 actually, I think that's the first time I listened to those vocals a cappella. I didn't record this in any kind of professional multi-million-dollar studio. This is all with my home studio equipment. This $300 microphone and a $100 audio interface. And it sounds like a very nice production. So give it a try today. Follow the link in the description. And now we get to talk about this giveaway. So Immerse Virtual Studio and Audio-Technica together have partnered with me to do this giveaway. Basically, all you have to do is follow the link in the description to enter in your information to win. And in 1 month, we're going to announce the winner who's going to win Immerse Virtual Studio, the all-access plugin, which is valued at $399, and 1 pair of Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs, which are super prized headphones. I own a pair myself. I've seen Timbaland use those. I've seen Drake use those. And also, I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Immerse Virtual Studio for sponsoring this video, as well as Audio-Technica for supplying these headphones. Well, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Stay legendary.
So I'm speaking to all the masses. Please raise your glasses for memories past us. Disregard the pastors. Cause tonight we raise it to the good life. The good nights, bad days in the hood life. Maybe you just married your girlfriend. She named Grace. Maybe you just found love in a hopeless place. Put your drinks in the air if you really love to live. Feeling like you had a bad year. Something's gotta